What is up? The Sixth Man Extra, and we're back with Fans Corner, the third installment, but it's not UK. We're going international. Say hello, bonjour to my man Benoit. How you doing, man?
Bonsoir à tous. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Look at that. Already outdoing us, bilingual.
I just want to hear more of Alex's French. That's what I'm here for. Go on, Alex, give us some more.
C'est bon. I'm not even going to get into it. A little bit of background about our third guest. Benoit, we're going to be talking about the Spurs, but how I met Benoit is on study abroad at Oklahoma University. That's where Benoit actually did his degree. He was working at the clubhouse at the time, and I don't know how we met. Maybe you can speak more about that, but obviously I want to transition into like how we met, and also like just talk about how you got into basketball and where your career started from, like when you were a young guy growing up in France, and how that transitioned.
Yeah. So I think we met in a party. Probably I was working in the clubhouse, but the first time we met was probably in one of those international parties at Oklahoma. Shout out to OU. So yeah, like how I got started into basketball. So I got started into basketball really late compared to other players here in France that going to big leagues or just to play professional basketball here. But I got started into like when I was 10 or 11. So basically, my dad is a huge sports fan, and he will get every day these sports newspaper called L'Équipe, and would have articles, right, about every single sports. And obviously, Tony Parker was starting to do big things in the NBA. So the basketball article was getting bigger and bigger. And so I started to read it and to learn more about the game and about Tony Parker. I got really interested about it. And after that, I just saved pocket change money to buy like my first sports magazine, like basketball magazines called Reverse magazines. And in France, that was pretty much the only magazine we had about the NBA. And so every month I would just save my pocket change and just buy it. And that's when I discovered AI, Allen Iverson.
The answer.
And like,
that's my boy.
The NBA. So it was really like mind blowing to me. And I got really into it. And basically got into my high school team. From there, I actually went into like a sports team. In France, it's probably the same in the UK, but in France, high school teams actually are not that good. And you have to go into clubs to compete at a higher level. And so since I'm like very passionate, when I get into something I'm really enjoying, I was practicing every single day, going out to the playgrounds every weekend, literally day and nights practicing. And so I got into like, very good teams early on, and then they will put me in like higher divisions. So basically we had, a division from, 10 to 13 years old, and then from 14 to 17, and then 17 to 20, etc. And then seniors teams. And so basically I will play for like 10 to 13, but also for the 13 to 17. And I'll just be a bench player for the seniors teams. So that's how I got really like a lot of game time, a lot of exposure, a lot of experience. And basically after that, I went to south of France to play professional basketball for a year and a half, like 2 seasons, like at the end of the high school. After that, I went to the US. So it was like a dream come true. I always wanted to go to the US. Ever since I purchased that first basketball magazine, I was like, I need to go to the US. I mean, obviously, like I wanted to go to the NBA, didn't make it, but at least I went to college there. It was really fun. I went for three seasons in California, played for the Inter College there, and it was an amazing experience. Truly an amazing experience compared to what we do in France in terms of obviously the infrastructure of the teams, the stadiums, everything around basketball players. It's just like in terms of treatments, trainings, everything is amazing. And unfortunately, after 3 seasons, I got injured and really a bad back injury. I was almost paralyzed. So after that, I came to France, and I was like, okay, I'm probably going to be, out for a while. So I did the recovery process. At the end of the recovery process, even though I was still, wanting to go back to play basketball. I just decided to pursue other things and just go back to the US to finish my education. And then now I'm a consultant, so it's like a completely different world. I mean, obviously, I still miss basketball, and I enjoy watching the NBA, watching French leagues, Euro leagues, and so yeah, still a huge basketball fan.
I know when we were at OU, and this is what I want you to talk about on the pod, is during your journey, you played against some familiar faces in France. Can you briefly speak about that?
Yeah, so well, in Paris, obviously, there's a lot of very, very good talent. It's similar to what we do in football. Like if you look at the French national teams, I would say like 70% of the players are from Paris, or the Parisian era, like well, there's a suburb of actual Paris. And so in basketball, it's the same thing, right? And since I was born and raised in Paris, like during the summer and even during clubs, like like divisions, national divisions, I used to play against really good players, like Evan Fournier, which was a freaking, like I never seen a guy play that well. When I was younger, he was dominating, putting 40 points every time. Like it was insane. And I remember one game actually against Evan Fournier. It was crazy. So basically, he used to play with the seniors teams when he was 15 in Nanterre, and basically I was on like the 13 to 16 team, and he just came back one time to just play a game, and never played with their team, and he came with 40 game winner, and like just it was insane to watch it, like honestly. And so that was one player. When I was young, I was like, I need to get to his level, right? Like he's on something different. I need to get to his level. So he was really motivated to see this. And
did you guard him, Benoit?
No, I didn't guard.
You didn't want to check into the game.
Yeah, I was a point guard, so like it wasn't my job. But
I never realized how big Fournier was until you watch a Magic game. You don't never realize how big he is because you just see an image of him and you don't think he's that big. But he's a big fella, 6'7". Like he's a lot bigger than I thought he was.
Definitely big, and obviously, like his strong suit back in the day was driving into the paint. It was like you could not stop him. He was an okay shooter, but not as good as today. But back in the day, like he could drive every single time. Like his first step was insane. I don't know, it was just something different. And yeah, during the summer, we also play like in basically in France, we have those summer camps, basketball summer camps. And basically, I used to go there every single year. And during those camps, I played against Thomas Hurtel. We played in NBA, but now he's playing in Europe. Also, Rudy Gobert, which like last time I saw him, he was definitely another player. He was so fucking skinny, and like honestly, it was I don't know 7 something, but extremely skinny. Could barely move, like. And he was getting dunked on by a lot of people in the gym. But obviously, he tried his best to block everybody. He was getting dunked on back then, but now probably one of the best
defensive player of the year, Jazza Rowland.
Defensive player in the NBA at the moment. So yeah.
So you obviously made the transition from European basketball, then you went to play basketball in America. I'm very intrigued when you go across continent, sort of how the step up was compared from one level to another. I was watching actually Gilbert Arenas talk a little bit about Luka Doncic and saying how in the European game it's actually much more fundamentally sound, but then when you get to an American game with the NBA, it's a lot more athletic. There's a lot more athleticism that comes into it. Sort of what was the comparison that you found going from a European game to an American game, so to speak?
For sure. Speed and strength. I mean, obviously, in Europe, we were big on ball movements, sound defensive principles. In the US, when I was playing in college, they just run. They outrun you, like it's insane. Whether it's practice or it's games, they just run, And especially in California, in the team I played, they were just running everywhere, and the boys were athletic, as you said. Like they would jump out of the roof. They could not shoot the ball, but they would just get every freaking rebound, and they would just be so much more athletic than I was, because I was definitely a typical European player. I would say smart, but skinny make really good passes, but I didn't like to defend much. Uh, so yeah, it was quite difficult at the beginning to get used to the American system. I was not expecting that big of a jump in terms of speed and athleticism.
So let's get to your beloved Spurs. So you spoke a little bit about getting into the basketball and from L'Équipe. I mean, I love L'Équipe as well. One of the famous things they do in football is they have the rare 10 out of 10 result for a player in a football game. I think they've only ever given it to 7 or 8 players, a 10 out of 10 performance, which I love. So you mentioned that it's Tony Parker, and that the first way that you got into Spurs. So
yeah, so first was definitely Tony Parker. But what really got me into basketball was AI, honestly. Because when you want to see flashy plays, right? You want to see someone that's going to cross everyone, that's going to score.
You did try and get cornrows, did you?
What did you say?
You did try and get the cornrows, no?
No. I didn't go. But I definitely had baggy jeans and long, shirts and sweaters, whatever. Yeah, definitely. But I didn't go with the cornrows. No. But yeah, AI was huge. Like I was a huge fan of AI. So first I was a Sixers fan, and then as I got into basketball, I realized, like the Spurs are really good, and the way they play basketball, I just enjoy watching it. Like fundamental, like as I said before, right? Europe, it's like very similar to European teams.
Yeah.
Ball movements, sound defensive principles, and also I like the franchise, the way that they recruit players based on character and attitude, and not just based on their stats in college or in Europe, wherever the player is coming from. I just like the way they recruit and develop players. You saw it with Kawhi, you see it now with DeJounte Murray or with any other players. They don't get high draft picks except one guy, and like arguably one of the best power forward of all time, but we'll talk about it later, I'm sure. But yeah, like I just enjoy watching the Spurs. It was not a flashy team, and honestly, Tony Parker brought a lot of light to the team. And like when I was younger, obviously, I'm sure you guys did as well. We had those daily zap online, right? Daily zap top 10.
We've spoken about this before, yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about it with Ultra, yeah.
Like, we couldn't watch the games, right? Because we're in Europe, so we couldn't watch the games. So like the next morning or after school, you just watch your daily zap, and obviously on daily zap, you see big plays. On the top 10, you see big plays. You will not see the Spurs much, honestly. So the only time you'll see the Spurs is if Tony Parker got a rebound and went coast to coast with a spin move.
The spin layup where
exactly.
he brought it. Yeah.
But since then I've been following the Spurs and really enjoy watching them. Obviously they're playing really well when I started to watch them, but even now I really enjoy watching them. I think they got a solid team.
We are going to ask you some quick fire questions about the Spurs. Just want some input on, just to really see how much you know your team, considering you moved from Philly. But yeah, so the Spurs go. Who do you think is the greatest Spur of all time?
Oh, wow. So even though I like to say Tony Parker, it's hard to argue against Timmy. It's hard to argue against Timmy. Like the boy got 5 rings, I think 3 MVPs, final MVPs, 2 MVPs, and like I said before, arguably the best power forward of all time. So definitely the Spurs GOAT, and I think he's going to be for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, very, very hard to argue against Tim Duncan. But now, a bit more personal to you, who's been your favourite player? So not necessarily the best, but a player that stuck out to you, or that's got a special place in your heart.
Currently, or
just in general, overall? Yeah.
So, obviously, like, Tony Parker was huge, but actually the player I enjoyed watching the most when I watched the Spurs, it's going to sound very odd, but I really enjoyed watching him a lot. It was Boris Diaw when he was playing he didn't play for the Spurs for that long, but man, I miss Boris Diaw playing for the Spurs. He had such a good playoff run, and I just feel like he fits so well with the team. Like, he's just a Spurs guy. Like, I wish we got him earlier, but probably one of the best player, like probably one of the players I enjoy watching the most. Yeah, he got drafted by Atlanta and then went to Phoenix, and it was the MIP in Phoenix, the most improved player. And that's what got him
Yes.
to really,
Paris boy as well.
Yeah, Paris boy.
Everyone's from Paris. He also popped up in that Tony Parker doc, if you've seen it, Benoit. I'm sure you have. On Netflix, it's just dropped, and they obviously played from a young age, and now. But I think where he really stood out for me, Boris Diaw, was that finals against the Heat, where you guys, the ball movement was insane, and he was really. He was one of the catalysts. He was a big guy who was mobile, can put the ball on the floor, can pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really, really good pick.
Yeah,
so
I think you're right. And as you said, like I will just tell you something, because obviously you guys probably watched the Tony Parker Netflix documentary, and you saw that Boris Diaw and Tony Parker were playing together. So I'll just explain to you how it works kind of in France. So we have this INSEP. So it's basically a big campus for Olympic sports. And so the best player in France in basketball, they go there. And actually the best athletes in France that compete in Olympic sports go there. And that's why you saw like Tony Parker, Ronny Turiaf, Boris Diaw, a lot of other guys actually made it to the NBA. Johan Petro and all the guys, they were from INSEP, and so Evan Fournier went there. I mean, pretty much Rudy Gobert didn't go there, but pretty much every NBA player went there.
Interesting question, I think, is who do you think is the most overrated player in Spurs history?
Oh, wow. So, okay. I think that the most overrated player in Spurs history will have to be Robert Horry.
Oh, Big Shot Rob. Okay, explain.
Big Shot Rob. Yeah, like honestly, we expected big things out of him, and I think he's a good player. He made some big shots. Obviously, made some big shots for the Spurs. Checked Steve Nash with his shoulder, whatever. Like he made some big plays, important plays for the Spurs. But I just think as a player, he was just way overrated. Like now we consider, like some people consider him as one of the best players of all time because he got a lot of rings, but he was just lucky. He was in a really good team in Houston, a really good team in LA, then went to the Spurs. And I just expected more out of him when we recruited him, and he made some big shots, but I don't think he was as good as we expected him to be.
I think he's just a perfect example of knowing a role. I don't think he oversteps his role just where he was. I think then he gets to the point where because of his rings, people then overrate him, where they say, oh, he was one of the key elements. Well, I guess you could say he was, but it wasn't the sort of number one or number two option. To flip it on the other side, who's someone that you feel is very underrated for their time in San Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, I just talked about Boris Diaw. I think he was just an underrated player. Obviously, he's so versatile. Can pass the ball, can post up, can shoot. Very good team player. And you saw him like play defense on LeBron and lock him up, and like very important and key plays during the playoff, during the finals. So definitely a very underrated player because he's a team first kind of guy. So you're not gonna see flashy stats when you're not gonna see flashy plays except maybe like a really nice pass. Yeah. But he just makes the right play at all time, and definitely the most underrated player in Spurs. In his Spurs history, probably. Yeah, I would say so.
I love that. I love that about the Spurs. The next player up, everybody always steps up in their role, and that's instilled from Pop. With the Spurs, this is a personal favorite question of mine: is what is your all-time starting five? Point guard, free to center.
Do I get a six-man since you guys?
You can. No one's asked for it before. We can give it to you. Yeah.
We know who that would be. We all know who the ultimate six-man is.
Actually, you might be surprised, but okay. So starting five, point guard, I'll have to go with Tony. TP, the two guard, I'll go with Manu Ginobili, and then three, I'll go with Kawhi, Yeah, I'll go with Kawhi. 4, I'll definitely go with Tim Duncan. And at center, I will go with David Robinson. And 6-man, it's kind of tough actually. 6-man, I'll go with Bruce Bowen.
Bruce Bowen.
Yeah, I'll go with Bruce Bowen to provide some defense. If you need to lock up somebody, you got Bruce and Kawhi. It's like nobody can score on you. If you got Tim and David Robinson in the post, that's luck. Yeah, it's a lock up.
I feel there is one person missing. Iceman. Where's Iceman? Where does Iceman fit into all this?
I know. I've never watched him play, so it's hard for me.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. Yeah.
You know, Gervin is like an amazing player. Obviously, I saw highlights, but
yeah,
it's difficult for me to put him in the starting 5.
Completely understandable. And yeah, makes sense.
I'm surprised you're not salty about Kawhi that you put him in there, but yeah, fair enough.
Come on, yeah. I mean,
Kawhi. It's not everyone's as salty as you, Alex.
Yeah, I was so salty, honestly. Like, I mean, it's hard to see one player in the Spurs that does that. Obviously, like I said before, we recruit based on character and attitude, and this guy just goes wild because of his uncle and all that. So I was really salty for a minute.
We're going to move from the past and go to the present and talk about your current roster. Spurs, obviously, rolling back the years this season, they're having a really good year. They're one of Ed's teams that he picked, so he's extremely happy with. The question I want to ask you is, who do you think is the most valuable on that team right now?
The most valuable player, I think, will have to be DeJounte Murray. Yeah, because he's so, like I said, he's so versatile. Like, he can play on both ends of the floor, really provide some good defense, a good pick and roll player. His shooting is not there quite yet, but I think he's the most valuable player. Point guard is always so important for the Spurs. I mean, you got Tony Parker, Avery Johnson. We got some really important players, and I think they're a key piece in the system that we play in. So yeah, definitely DeJounte Murray.
We've had this question before on the show, and we're wondering, out of all the Spurs players, who would be the one that you'd love to go on a night out with?
Wow.
You've got to be current roster. You can't be choosing Boris or Tony.
or Tim Duncan. Yeah,
so, okay, if I go out, yeah, no, that'd be quite fun actually. If I go out, I'll definitely. It has to be a likable guy, and somebody that likes to party and can get you into any place you want to go in. You know? So I think, I think DeMar DeRozan would be the best in that role. I mean, well-known NBA player from LA
boy.
SC.
Exactly.
So if you want to go party, like just pull up DeMar DeRozan. I think he's your boy, and I think he could be he's a nice guy. I mean, I think he could be a very nice guy. Could have some great conversation. So yeah,
I'd also back him in a fight. Like if things went bad,
yeah,
you're not messing with DeRozan.
Yeah,
definitely not. Speaking of fights, if you're on the team and you're fighting for position or for playing time, which player would you fight most likely to fight with on the current roster?
Okay, for playing time or just in general?
Because it could be either.
Okay, I think in general, I think I'll really get into it with LaMarcus Aldridge. It's pretty funny, but he's a big guy. He'll probably kill me, but I don't know.
He's a Texas boy. He's also Texas.
Like that's what I was gonna say. That right? We went to OU as a Texas boy. He's really sluggish, slow. I think sometimes he can, give you that vibe, but like he's unmotivated. So if I see this during practice, I'll definitely go at him. I don't know. I think he's just sluggish, and I think I'll definitely get into him at practice.
Final question for the current roster. Who is a non-all-star that you would like to see the Spurs trade for? Who's maybe that last key piece that maybe gives them a nice little push?
Okay. I think it's 2 guys I really want the Spurs to get. First one will be
Don't you dare say anyone from the Magic, but go.
Yeah. Evan Fournier can come. I mean, obviously, that would be great, but that good of potential. I think I'll recruit 2 guys, like 2 non-all-stars, actually current non-all-stars that I would like to recruit and get. in the Spurs, that will be Jaren Jackson Jr.
Triple J.
So much, again, versatility defensively, offensively, can shoot the ball, can post you up, he's got a really nice mid-range. He's long, really good defense. He's a smart player, and I think he fits into the Spurs mold, right? Like, he's got a good character, good attitude. He's a Michigan State boy. So definitely definitely my first pick in terms of non-All-Star player I would like to get in the Spurs. Second one, I think is going to be an All-Star this year, and it's evident. And I think is Jaylen Brown.
Killer.
I love him so much, and I think I remember the draft nights of Jaylen Brown. Actually, I was with Alex, and I was like, oh, Jaylen Brown is going to be an All-Star. He's going to be like a superstar. He's got that that fire in him. And I actually told you, I don't know if you remember, I told you like
no, there is also another player. But there's another player that me and Benoit used to watch games together, and he was like, there's a player that you need to watch. He's going to be amazing in the next level. He's going to make it. And he's having a really good year this year. And that is De'Aaron Fox. You always used to go on about it because that was the year when Fox and Malik Monk were the backcourt for Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah.
They've got a really big team. But Jaylen Brown is definitely an All-Star I would like to recruit. I'm definitely not the only one that like that. Really good defensive player. Is kind of, I don't know, I feel like he could be a franchise player. Right? He could carry a team. Obviously, he's with Jason Tatum now, so it's very difficult. But in any team, he could be that guy.
You're sixth in the West when we're currently recording right now. So, in all fairness, you guys are doing a lot better, especially in a tough Western Conference. So, what has gone well for the Spurs this year?
Wow, it's quite difficult for me to say honestly because I haven't watched too many games. But I think the Lonnie Walker has a really good start of the season. Kind of got the Spurs into it. DeMar DeRozan is still providing a lot of values in terms of scoring. LaMarcus Aldridge got injured, I believe, it's been a week, 2 weeks.
Can we talk about how?
I think. Yeah.
I was just going to say, LaMarcus Aldridge for a big man grabs no rebounds, and that's why I would be fighting him. How are you grabbing like one or two boards?
That's what I'm saying.
He's always in the mid-range.
Like he's kind of sluggish. He shoots away from obviously he's a shooter, so he get threes and mid-range shots. But I think he doesn't have that will. Like I just feel like he's a lazy guy. Like it's just my opinion. I'm probably wrong, but I just feel like he's a lazy guy, and I hate to play with players like that, right? Like a big man that can't jump that high and can't get any rebounds. But Jakob Poeltl has been killing it. During his absence, right? Is grabbing like 10 boards a game, maybe like 2 blocks a game. The little issue is with him is not that good of a shooter. Like his free throw percentage, I believe, it's like 50% or 60%, so quite terrible. And I don't know if we can grow him, like if we can actually develop him as a shooting big man, because it's so important in nowadays league. To have a big man that at least can shoot mid-range. The exception is probably Rudy Gobert. At the moment, the Jazz are killing it, but this guy can still not shoot mid-range. So, but I think we'll have to develop his shooting game in order for us to be a really good team in the next couple of years, because it's so important. Big men obviously are a huge piece of the Spurs system. I mean, you saw it was David Robinson, Tim Duncan. So there's going to be important to get one. Boris Diaw, of course.
Good. That's a fair point actually, because I remember at the start of the season looking at sort of first couple of weeks. That's the first time I looked at the Spurs, and one of the key things I picked up was last year. I think they had one of the lowest rated teams in terms of pace, and this year that's picked up a lot. And I think it helps when you've got Jakob Poeltl running instead of LaMarcus Aldridge, and you can run the floor and create those transition buckets, which you're switching from Aldridge and DeRozan team to all the young guys we just mentioned team, and there's definitely a lot more energy and it fits the system a lot better. And it's you made a good point actually. It feels like Pirtle is a complete opposite to what Aldridge is as a big man. So it's a lot more high intensity, high energy, goes to the basket. I'm not sure about Pirtle's defense yet. I can't say I've seen too much of it, but that'll be an interesting development for him as a big man. In terms of the other side, what has been some things that haven't gone well for the Spurs?
Really good question. I don't think I have an answer made up right now. I haven't watched too many games, as I said, unfortunately this season. And but I think players like I was expecting more out of Lonnie Walker. I thought when we drafted him that I think it was in Miami, right? And
yeah,
I saw a couple of games in Miami, and I was like, well, he's going to be a pretty good player, like a really good role player for the Spurs. Somebody that can shoot and maybe play some good defense. And I don't think he's developing as fast as I wanted. So in terms of development, I think we didn't do that good of a job with him. Maybe it's because there's also a lot of young players on the roster, and so we haven't been able to really develop him as much as we did with other young players like Kawhi or.
That's the thing though, the expectation, and something Kawhi was a late first rounder and Lonnie Walker, so that's what you're matching it up against. And because Spurs are so good at, like you said, with recruitment and drafting, people just expect that the next person is just going to automatically fill that role. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. But on the other hand, great performances from your bench. The depth is really good. Rudy Gay has played really well this season. Paddy Mills also played really well. Those players, like, I'd happily have them in my team. Philly needs more help from the bench side of things. So yeah,
I think Paddy Mills is such a good bench player because he brings so much energy. He's such a good team player. You get those, obviously pick and roll threes, and obviously he knows the system so well. He's been with the Spurs for I don't know how many years. That's
waving his towel on the bench.
10 seasons. He's been at Spurs for a decade now. Yeah.
For a decade? Oh my God! Yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, definitely a very good bench player, and that definitely could help your Sixers at the moment. Without Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Ben. Let's say Ben is dropping 42 every night. That's definitely not happening. Yeah. Ed, should we get to the fun bit?
Yes. So I'm not sure if you've seen previous episodes of Fans Corner. We like to have a little 24-second shot clock.
He's looking shit right now. He's looking.
Yeah. Okay. So he's either a Leo DiCaprio style actor and just completely acting like he's got no idea what's going on, or genuinely has no idea what's going on. So I'm going to give you a category. It's going to be a San Antonio Spurs based category, and you have 24 seconds to name as many things within that category. I would want you to name the top 30 players from this specific category. If you guess any player from 25 to 30, you get an offensive rebound. So it's a 24-second shot clock. If you say anyone from the bottom 5 of that list, you'll get another 14 seconds, so it'll turn into 38. And when I say go,
I will call out the offensive rebounds, of course. So that's why I'm getting the list. But yeah.
Okay, fair. So
I'll say the list, and then and I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. You'll just shout out the players. I'll write them down, and then at the end we'll see how many players you get.
Okay.
The category is Spurs all-time points leaders. We want the top 30.
Not bad.
And for a reference, the player in 30th has got roughly 2,700 points. Your 24-second shot clock starts now.
Okay, Timmy, Tony, Manu, Kawhi, LaMarcus Aldridge, Avery Johnson, David Robinson, George Gervin, Patty Mills, Bruce Bowen has been there for a while.
You do have an offensive rebound, by the way. I'm not sure why Alex didn't say.
I do. Danny Green, probably there. Sean Elliott, Larry Keenan, I think was one. Mike Mitchell, for sure. Patty Mills, did I say? Maybe?
Already said.
Benoit, you truly smashed it. I'm not sure if it's deserving of 5 rings, but maybe one of them. We could get you a ring somehow. You got 14 players right in 24 seconds and an offensive rebound of the top 30 scorers in Spurs history. And I'd like to thank myself and Alex and the Six Men. Would like to thank you for taking the time to tell us a little bit about your story. Really interesting story, going from European hoops to US hoops and your NBA fandom and a bit of history about the Spurs. And yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Made OU proud and France. So well done, man. Right, peace.
Peace out.